Jim Carrey just did something that no A-list Hollywood actor has ever dared to do on national television, and the entertainment industry is absolutely losing its mind over it. I'm talking about the moment when one of the biggest comedy legends in history walked onto Jimmy Kimmel Live in 2014 and literally exposed what he claims is the secret symbol of the Illuminati right there in front of millions of viewers. And bro, this wasn't some subtle hint or cryptic message. Carrey made a triangle with his hands around his mouth, stuck out his tongue, and told the entire world that he was sick and tired of the secrets and lies. The audience laughed because they thought it was just another Jim Carrey bit. But if you actually listen to what he said and look at everything that's happened to him since then, you start to realize this guy might be onto something way bigger than anyone wants to admit. So let's break down exactly what happened during that infamous Kimmel appearance, because the clip has now been viewed over 28 million times across different platforms, and people are still talking about it years later. Carrey walked out on stage making this bizarre hand gesture, forming a triangle around his mouth with his tongue sticking out through the center. And Kimmel, looking confused, asked him what that was supposed to be. Carrey scoffed like Kimmel was playing dumb and said, "Like you don't know what it is. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know, David Letterman doesn't know, all the comics in show business don't know what this is." Then he dropped the bombshell. He said, "Come on, Jimmy, I'm here to blow the whistle off of this whole thing. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It's the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it. It's the all-mocking tongue." The audience erupted in laughter because they assumed Carrey was just doing his usual comedy routine. But then he went even further. He claimed that for years now, people on television have been hired by the government as a distraction from what's really going on. He said these TV personalities are there to keep us happy and docile, so we don't know what's actually happening in the world. And then, in what seemed like a scripted moment but felt disturbingly real, Carrey said, "They get out there in the woods in a circle, naked, and decide these things." Now, whether you believe him or not, that's a pretty specific reference to things like Bohemian Grove, which is an actual elite retreat where powerful men have been documented gathering in the woods for secretive ceremonies. But here's where it gets really weird. Mid-rant, Carrey pretended to get a phone call and his whole demeanor changed instantly. He acted like someone on the other end was hypnotizing him or controlling him. And then he snapped back to his normal promotional mode saying, "I think what I was really trying to say is that people will really enjoy Dumb and Dumber this weekend." Then both he and Kimmel made the triangle Illuminati symbol together and the segment ended. Social media absolutely exploded after that interview. One Twitter user wrote, "He exposed them all. Love Jim Carrey." Another said, "Jim Carrey knows what is going on. He has witnessed it." And thousands of people in the comments praised him for having the courage to speak out on national television about what many believe is a real conspiracy involving Hollywood and government elites. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's just Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey, right? The guy's made a career out of being unpredictable and doing wild stuff. But if you look at his behavior over the past decade or so, there's been a massive shift in who he is as a person. Carrey has undergone what many people are calling a spiritual awakening, and he's been incredibly open about the fact that he no longer believes in the Hollywood system or the pursuit of fame and money. In fact, he's said multiple times that Jim Carrey the celebrity doesn't even exist, that it's just a character he played, and that the real person underneath is something completely different. This transformation really became public in 2017 when Carrey gave one of the most bizarre interviews in entertainment history at a New York Fashion Week red carpet event. Reporter Kat Sadler from E! News approached him for what she thought would be a standard celebrity interview, but instead, Carrey completely derailed the whole thing. He started circling around her like a predator, staring intensely, and when she asked him how he felt about being at the event, he said, "There's no meaning to any of this, so I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am." The reporter tried to pivot and mentioned that the event was celebrating icons, but Carrey wasn't having it. He said, "Celebrating icons? That is just the absolute lowest aiming possibility that we could come up with." Then he got even more philosophical and said, "I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe we are a field of energy dancing for itself, and I don't care." When Sadler pointed out that he got dressed up for the occasion, Carrey responded, I didn't get dressed up. There is no me. There are just things happening. There are clusters of tetrahedrons moving around together. And then he delivered what might be the most profound or disturbing line depending on how you look at it. It's not our world. We don't matter. There's the good news. The clip went absolutely viral with millions of views, and people were split into two camps. Some thought Carrey had completely lost his mind and needed help. Others believed he had achieved some kind of enlightenment and was trying to wake people up to the illusion of modern society. What's interesting is that Carrey himself has been pretty clear about what he means by all this. In subsequent interviews, he explained that while filming the 1999 movie Man on the Moon, where he played comedian Andy Kaufman, he immersed himself so deeply in the character that he realized Jim Carrey was also just a character. He said, "It was about immersing myself in a character so deeply that I realized that myself, Jim Carrey, was a character as well and something I could push aside at will." So once you know that, you go, who am I? This philosophical journey didn't come out of nowhere. Carrey has been very open about his struggles with severe depression throughout his life. He was on Prozac for years, which he described as feeling like a low level of despair that you're living with but still smiling at the office. Eventually, he decided to stop taking antidepressants and instead turn to spirituality, meditation, and art as his refuge. He eliminated all drugs, alcohol, and even coffee from his life. And according to him, he doesn't experience depression anymore the way he used to. He said, "When the rain comes, it rains, but it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay long enough to immerse me and drown me anymore." Carrey has described himself as embracing a universal spirituality that transcends individual religions. He said, "I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian. It all comes down to the same thing. You're in a loving place, or you're in an unloving place." He's met with spiritual leaders like the Dalai Lama and studied the teachings of people like Eckhart Tolle, who promotes the idea of living in the present moment and shedding ego-driven identity. And this isn't just talk for Carrey. He's completely restructured his life around these principles, spending most of his time now painting and creating art rather than chasing movie roles. In a 2018 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Carrey admitted that he no longer wanted to be in the Hollywood business. He said he was dissatisfied with the direction of the industry and the increasing influence of corporations. He felt drawn to a different kind of creative outlet, particularly painting, where he had full control without committees focused on broad appeal telling him what to do. This is a guy who was once the first actor in history to receive a $20 million salary for a single film with The Cable Guy in 1996. He's been one of the biggest movie stars on the planet for decades. And yet, he walked away from it all because he saw through what he believes is the illusion. Now, here's where things get really controversial. Some critics have accused Carrey of spiritual bypassing, which is basically using spirituality as a way to avoid dealing with real emotional issues. Writer and filmmaker Jeff Brown said that Carrey's comments about people not existing and personalities being illusory are part of an ungrounded, self-bashing, dissociative philosophy created by emotionally unwell teachers. Brown argued that Carrey needs to get below his comedic mask and heal his broken heart rather than pretending he's transcended his humanness. And there's some validity to that critique, especially considering the tragedy in Carrey's personal life when his ex-girlfriend Catriona White died by suicide in 2015. Her family later sued Carrey, alleging he provided the drugs she used to overdose, which he denied. That case was eventually dismissed, but it clearly left deep scars. But regardless of whether you think Carrey is genuinely enlightened or just dealing with trauma in an unconventional way, you can't deny that he's saying things that most Hollywood celebrities would never dare to say publicly. He's called out the meaninglessness of celebrity culture, the fakeness of Hollywood icons, and even hinted at secret elite gatherings and government manipulation through entertainment. And the fact that he did all of this on mainstream platforms like Jimmy Kimmel Live and red carpet events makes it even more significant. He's not hiding on some fringe podcast or alternative media outlet. He's putting this message out there for millions of people to see. The mainstream media has had a very interesting response to all of this. Time magazine ran an article titled, "Has Jim Carrey Flipped Out?", which is a classic example of how the establishment tries to dismiss anyone who questions the system by labeling them as crazy. They associate spiritual awakening with insanity and use neuro-linguistic programming in their headlines to shape public opinion. But despite their attempts to paint Carrey as unhinged, his messages have resonated with a huge portion of the population. People are tired of being lied to. They're tired of celebrity worship and the shallow materialism that Hollywood promotes. And when someone like Carrey, who's achieved everything the system promises will make you happy, tells you that it's all meaningless, that hits different than if some random person said it. Carrey has also spoken about his dissatisfaction with how corporations have taken over the film industry. He's watched as the art form he loved has become more and more about profit margins and franchise building rather than genuine storytelling. And this isn't just him being bitter about not getting roles anymore. The guy reprised his role as Dr. Robotnik in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in 2024, so he's clearly still bankable when he wants to be. But he's choosing to step back because he sees the system for what it is. In his words, it's all just avatars on a gaming grid. We're dressing up characters and pretending they matter when none of it actually does. What makes Carrey's story even more compelling is that he's willing to sacrifice his reputation and career to speak these truths. After his Fashion Week interview went viral, there were think pieces everywhere questioning his mental health and speculating about whether he'd ruined his career. Some people compared him to Tom Cruise and his infamous couch jumping incident on Oprah. But Carrey doesn't seem to care. He said, "Everyone gets to be the big joke for a year. That's this business. Last year, it was Tom Cruise. I could be the next Kathy Lee Gifford, but you have to say to yourself, wait a minute, dude, that's not you." And that's the key insight. Carrey understands that the public persona, the image, the brand, all of that is separate from who he actually is as a consciousness experiencing life. He's detached from the need for approval or validation from the industry that made him famous. And that detachment is what allows him to speak freely about things that would get other celebrities blacklisted or destroyed. He's essentially already removed himself from the game, so the game can't punish him anymore. He's got enough money to live comfortably for the rest of his life, and he doesn't need Hollywood's permission to create art or express himself. The spiritual community has absolutely embraced Carrey as one of their own. You can find countless YouTube videos analyzing his speeches, his interviews, his philosophy. People see him as someone who's achieved the highest levels of worldly success and then transcended it to find something deeper. And whether you agree with his worldview or not, there's something undeniably powerful about watching someone at the top of their field say, "Actually, this is all bullshit, and here's what I think really matters." In recent years, Carrey has mostly retreated from the public eye. His last major public appearance was at the César Awards in Paris in early 2026, where he received an honorary award and showed up looking completely different with longer hair and a fuller face. Social media went crazy with some people claiming he was unrecognizable and others speculating it might not even be him. That's how rare it's become to see him. He's living a much quieter life focused on his art and his spiritual practice, and he said he's fulfilled with what he's accomplished in acting. But the legacy of those interviews, especially the Kimmel Illuminati segment, continues to grow. More and more people are discovering those clips and questioning whether Carrey was joking or telling the truth. And in a world where we've seen real conspiracies proven true with Epstein, Weinstein, Diddy, and so many others, it doesn't seem so crazy to think that maybe Hollywood's biggest comedy star was trying to tell us something important. Whether it's about secret elite gatherings, government manipulation through entertainment, or just the fundamental meaninglessness of celebrity culture, Carrey has opened a door for millions of people to question the narratives they've been fed their whole lives. At the end of the day, Jim Carrey represents something that Hollywood absolutely hates, which is an insider who refuses to play by the rules anymore. He's seen behind the curtain. He knows how the machine works. And instead of staying quiet and enjoying his wealth and fame, he's chosen to use his platform to wake people up. And whether you think he's a prophet or a madman, you have to respect the fact that he's willing to risk everything to speak what he believes is the truth. The question is, are we ready to listen?